If you've been trading for 5 years and you're trading the same strategy regardless of whether you're winning or losing, you're disciplined. You know what I mean? Like, if you're trading 80% of the time according to your strategy, you're a disciplined trader. Like, that's it. Like, it's the 80% rule. Like, it's the 80-20 rule. Like, there's always that 20% that's going to be like, it's going to like be tweaked by whether you slept good or you like whatever that is. But 80% of the time, if you look over your past results, if you've taken, or if in the past 20 trades, if you've taken your trades according to your strategy, you're disciplined, bro. Like, and you're consistently disciplined in the fact that you followed your rules to that strategy, right? Regardless if it's a win, lose, or break even, the results doesn't matter because you don't have that in your hands. You only have the fact that you can take step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5, and then execute. That's all you have in your hands as a trader. Now, when you get that result back, that's a different thing. Like, the way you react to that results is a different thing. But the fact of the matter is that, to me, once you have a strategy that works, you kind of remove the reaction or the need to, oh, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that at any given time. You are even more disciplined if you don't change that strategy until you get to a certain point, knowing that, fuck, I'm losing, bro. But like, I'm not going to change it because I need to understand that over this sample size, only at that point I can make a change. Like, once you start to understand that, you a disciplined trader, bro. You're consistently doing what you need to do, even though you break even, even though you're in a slight negative, you're a consistent trader, bro. Like, that's what I think it is. Now the tweak comes. The one thing that you needed to change all along, and the one thing that you really needed to do this whole time, happens after maybe an extra 6 months. And when that happened, it's not like there's one factor that changes is profitability, but it's not like all of a sudden you're consistent or all of a sudden you're just disciplined. You've been disciplined this whole time. You've been a good trader this whole time. It's just that you made a small tweak in your technicals. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't go from being undisciplined to disciplined overnight. Nah, bro. You've been doing that discipline thing the whole time. It's just the results hasn't been coming back to you to a point where like, bro, like, I'm winning all the time. No, like, and like, that's the difference to me. Like, okay, strategy is good. Strategy is working now. But the strategy wasn't working the whole time, or it wasn't like giving you the results that you required. But it doesn't mean you were a shit trader, or it doesn't mean you were undisciplined. It doesn't mean that you weren't consistent. If anything, you were consistent in showing up. You were disciplined in taking that trades that was in your plan. And now when the plan changes and it shifts, and you get that one tweak that you needed, and it starts working, and you put everything together, and the puzzle comes together, then I was like, oh, fuck, bro. Like, you're doing the exact same things. You're following the exact same processes. It's just the one tweak. You move your point of interest from that point to this point, like the extreme lows. And you notice that, bro, out of the extreme lows, all of a sudden I'm getting more wins. Like, okay, my strategy just changed for a little bit, but it's the same strategy in and of itself. It's the same thing. It's just a little tweak, right?
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Modern Day Trader, another episode of our podcast. These kind of like psychological, not solo sessions, but these feel-good sessions. I think, like Marcy said in the one episode. I think today we're gonna freestyle it again. Not a hectic topic from like a technical perspective. I think we very much still on our psychological tip. Just kind of going over the week, going over the quarter, trying to pinpoint where we can improve. These sessions are for us to come and kind of discuss what's on our mind from that regard. And Marcy's got a really cool question for us today that we have not prepped for, and I think he mentioned it to me just before we jumped on, and I was like, bro, to be honest, I actually don't know the answer to that, but let's just jump on and chat about it and see where it goes. So, my G, take us through today's topic. What are we talking about?
So the topic is trading really 90% psychology, or is it more strategy? And do you want me to jump in, or do you want to give your thoughts on that real quick, bro?
I think I'm keen to understand like how you got to that question and like what your thoughts are. So yeah, no, yeah, take it away, bro.
So the way I actually got to this question is, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I've been watching a lot of like podcasts on other traders, and one question that's very common is, do you think it's psychology or do you think it's like strategy? And I think the answer is really a combination of the two. It's neither one nor the other, but I think it's pretty simple. I think once you trust in your strategy, and like I'm of the opinion that if you're not disciplined, you can't trade, right? I don't think that's necessarily psychology. I think it's a characteristic that you have as a person, or characteristic that you can build and like really build on, right? Uh, as a trader, I think the most important thing is your strategy. And the reason why I'm saying that is, if you have faith and like you have the results to back yourself and you have the confidence in that trading strategy, I don't think psychology plays a big role in your trades day to day. That's what I think. I think psychology comes in where you don't trust your strategy, or you don't have the answers about this particular section of your strategy. Now, like, you can still, in your strategy, you can still go through a 5 trade dip, right? You can still go through a 10 trade dip, but knowing that you've done that before and your strategy has encountered that before, I think that eases your mind knowing your numbers. And so to me personally, I think that strategy takes at least 80% of the decisions and 80% of the thinking out of it,
Mhm.
but you still have that 20%. I don't think it's the 90-10 rule that most people speak about. And the reason why I say that is, right enough you go through these dips, and right enough you lose and you win, and you get all of these emotions that you encounter, right? But once you like seasoned and you're within trading, right, whether you're profitable or you're just about break even or you in a slight negative, I think you have a way of analyzing those results that will give you those small tweaks to then make the adjustments in the market. And
Mhm.
that to me then says that, hey, bro, like, obviously sometimes you'll be affected by, like, sometimes emotions will come and like it will go again and you'll start trading. But I think
Mhm.
that knowing that your strategy is growing as you grow as a person and as you grow as a trader, I think that once you get that together and you start believing in it like wholeheartedly, and you believe in your numbers fully, then it takes out
Mhm.
the aspect of psychology, bro, because you're already disciplined as a person. When you like, if you've been trading for 5 years and you're trading the same strategy regardless of whether you're winning or losing, you're disciplined. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
if you're trading 80% of the time according to your strategy, you're a disciplined trader. Like, that's it. Like, it's
Mhm.
the 80% rule. Like, that's the 80-20 rule. Like, there's always that 20% that's gonna be like, it's gonna like be tweaked by whether you slept good or you like whatever that is. But 80% of the time, if you look over your past results, if you've taken, or if in the past 20 trades, if you've taken your trades according to your strategy, you're disciplined, bro. Like, and you consistently disciplined in the fact that you followed your rules to that strategy, right? Regardless if it's a win, lose, or break even. The results doesn't matter because you don't have that in your hands. You only have the fact that
Mhm.
you can take step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5, and then execute. That's all you have in your hands as a trader. Now, when you get that result back, that's a different thing. Like, the way you react to that results is a different thing. But the fact of the matter is that, to me, once you have a strategy that works, you kind of remove the reaction or the need to, oh, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that at any given time.
Mhm.
You are even more
Mhm.
disciplined if you don't change that strategy until you get to a certain point, knowing that, fuck, I'm losing, bro. But like, I'm not gonna change it because I need to understand that over this sample size, only at that point I can make a change. Like, once you start to
Mhm.
understand that, you a disciplined trader, bro. You consistently doing what you need to do, even though you break even though you're in a slight negative, you're a consistent trader, bro.
Mhm.
That's what I think it is. Now the tweak comes. The one thing that you needed to change all along, and the one thing that you really needed to do this whole time, happens after maybe an extra 6 months. And when that happened, you don't. It's not like there's one factor that changes is profitability, but it's not like all of a sudden you're consistent or all of a sudden you're just disciplined. You've been disciplined this whole time. You've been a good trader this whole time. It's just that you made a small tweak in your technicals. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't go from being undisciplined to discipline overnight. Nah, bro. You've been doing that discipline thing the whole time. It's just the results hasn't been coming back to you to a point where like, bro, like I'm winning all the time. No, like, and like that's the difference to me. Like, okay, strategy is good, strategy is working now, but the strategy wasn't working the whole time, or it wasn't like giving you the results that you required. But it doesn't mean you were a shit trader, or it doesn't mean you were undisciplined. It doesn't mean that you weren't consistent. If anything, you were consistent in showing up. You were disciplined in taking that trades that was in your plan. And now when the plan changes and it shifts, and you get that one tweak that you needed, and it starts working, and you put everything together, and the puzzle comes together, then I was like, oh fuck, bro. Like, you're doing the exact same things, you're following the exact same processes. It's just the one tweak. You move your point of interest from that point to this point, like the extreme lows. And you notice that, bro, out of the extreme lows, all of a sudden I'm getting more wins. Like, okay, my strategy just changed for a little bit, but it's the same strategy in and of itself. It's the same thing as just a little tweak, right? So now that one tweak makes you profitable. Profitability doesn't make you like the best trader or not. It's everything else like that results in profitability. You like, I feel like the biggest thing that Mark Douglas preaches is the fact that we don't have results in our hands. Like, that's the only thing we can't control. And so, like, are you a good trader if you're getting bad results but you're following your same strategy every time? I don't think so. Obviously, we want it's a results driven business, but like, once your strategy comes together and you believe in it, I think it removes a lot of the psychology aspects of it, because you've already been profitable. Oh, you have already been consistent. You've already been disciplined. You've already been following those rules to a fucking point where it's like, I know I'm following these things. Why is it not working? And then you find that one thing. You know what I mean? So to me personally, I believe that it's the other way around, not necessarily 90-10, but I'd say 75-25 or 80-20, to the point where like, where you're making those tweaks to your strategy and you understand like, this thing has been making me lose, or this thing has been making me win. Let me do more of that. This thing has been making me lose. Let me do less of that. I might take less trades, or I might take more trades because of it. But once you're done with the next set and you made those tweaks, and now you believe in that next set, like in the strategy that worked for that next set, and then the following set works too, then the following set works too. Now all of a sudden, hey, bro, you think, I don't think that's psychology. I think it's the fact that like, you've made the tweak to your strategy and your strategy is now working. You know what I mean? So yeah, Sam, what do you think, bro? What do you think? I got a bit passionate there, the youngest, bro.
Now you're preaching. No, you came through, bro, and I'm glad you did, because it's like, whether you were speaking about yourself and like what you're going through, because I know you've recently like implemented a small tweak and you've seen like really good returns from that. But on like the other side of that, it's like, there's a part of me that felt like shit. Like, this is really speaking to me, because I've also implemented like a small tweak over the past couple of trades, and like, it hasn't gone well. So everything you're saying was like, in my mind, I was like, okay, I've implemented the small tweak, and it almost feels like I'm panicking too early, because when we implement a tweak, like, we don't know how it's going to respond immediately. At least it could be a change for better or worse.
Yeah.
But the discipline comes in just letting the plan play out, because we constantly tell ourselves you need a large enough sample set to see certain how your trade's going to play out over time. And yeah, I don't think I've acted that way. I think I was just trying to find a reason for why I'm in like this losing streak, but in the same breath, I think I mentioned in the live, like, the past 8 trades have been like, well, 1 break even, 7 losers. But in reality, I've applied a tweak over the past 3 only. So, is it really fair for me to combine those 8 into like one sample set if the conditions have kind of been different throughout? Arguably not. But yeah, I think before I got into actually like addressing the question, like what I was just trying to go over what you were saying, and yeah, speaking to me, bro. That was bars. But I think similarly, I do agree. I think a large part of it is psychology, whether it's 75-25, 80-20, I don't know. But there's that saying that goes, you can give a disciplined trader a terrible plan, and they'll probably be more profitable than if you give an undisciplined trader like a great plan, because they'll be inconsistent in executing on the strategy and will most likely than not um, you know be unprofitable, as opposed to someone who has an inferior plan with maybe only like a 40% strike rate. The fact that they can stick to the plan, trade in, trade out, over a long enough sample set, they'll probably be more successful than the latter. So I think the foundation of your results, like you're saying, rightfully so, is really in the way you approach the markets, your discipline in following step one, which leads to step two, then step three, then step four. And regardless of how you feel about a position at any given moment, if it meets the plan, take it. Because that's the only way as well over, for example, like us, a 20 set, a 20 trade data set, you can accurately tell that if it's working or not,
Yeah.
or what's working, because every single trade was executed off the same parameters. And only once you can say that, then you're in a position to adjust the technical part of it accordingly. Because at the end of the day, the technical part of it is still important. I think that is still a pretty critical part of, being a trader, having good technicals. But if you are not allowing the actual plan that you formulated that comprises of your technicals to give you accurate data that allows you to make small changes or improvements or whatever over time, then the technicals are all for nothing, because your technicals can change every single day. It's
Exactly.
like you can literally, there's a video on YouTube for anything you want to see in trading and any plan you want to trade. You can literally have a new plan every day for the next
Every
year.
day.
So it is about technicals, but also it's technicals, like you're saying, coupled with the psychological elements of it. So yeah, one, I agree with you there. Where I think it kind of gets tricky is determining whether your current sequence of results is as a consequence of your psychological state or your technicals, because you can truly have a technical problem. You may just be seeing the market in a way that's leading you to take L's constantly because of something that you're missing on the charts. And I don't think there's a black and white sort of system in determining that. Um, well, look, maybe there is a way in which you can determine that, but I think it varies. What I'm trying to say, it varies for each trader, um, in that we can be trading the same plan, but we may have different issues. You may have a technical issue, whereas I may have a psychological issue in executing the plan. You may just be interpreting the plan incorrectly. So hence I'm saying it's like, depending on you know what your issue is, like it's going to be one or the other at any given moment. So I think that's kind of like where I am at now, where I'm kind of trying to determine, is this previous losing streak like a consequence of like technicals, or is it a consequence of the psychological aspect? And maybe that's my follow-on question to you. um, how do you think you determine that? Because I actually saw uh, the guy I follow on IG, Abi Ansari from Falcon FX, posted something like that on IG, and he was like, comment down like template if you want me to send you my blueprints of like how to determine it. And I was just like, fuck this, bro, I don't want it. But like I've been thinking I've been thinking about it more and more, but I almost wanted to figure it out myself, because I'm trying to get out of that thing of like latching on to like everything you see online and kind of just trying to find the next thing that's going to help you improve from like someone else, because you have all the answers internally. It's just like
Exactly.
sometimes you just need to sit with it long enough to figure out where you're going wrong personally. So yeah, what do you think, or how do you think someone can go about determining whether are my current issues now psychological or more technical? And if it's psychological, what determines that it's psychological? If it's technical, what are some things that determine whether it's technical, given that obviously technical strategies like range, not everyone's looking at the same things, but what are some indicators that, okay, this, you may be, facing a technical issue?
I think I don't think I can answer the psychological part of it correctly, to be honest with you, but I do think I can answer the technical part. Uh, with regards to technicals, if you look at the market, if you trade in like an underlying foundation of one specific like strategy, if let's say for instance you trade in smart money concepts, so you trade in like breakouts the way I do, right? The underlying
Mm,
foundation of both of those strategies is structure, right? You're gonna have swing highs, swing lows, swing highs, swing lows, higher highs, higher lows. And
mm,
yes, you can enter all from different like places and you can trade in different directions, but the underlying like the foundation of both those strategies is structure. And so a simple way to determine if it's technicals is the fact that like let's say for instance you in a group, or even you're not in a group, right? The way I'd go about it, if I don't know at all if it's like technicals or not, I'd break my strategy first of all down to the bare minimum, understanding what is the foundation of this strategy, right? So now I understand that the foundation of the strategy and like what I should be doing is structure and understanding structure correctly. So now I ask myself to understand structure correctly, and the way I do that is when I do my analysis, what am I looking at? Am I looking at buys or am I
mm,
looking at sells, right? So for instance, let's use like the dollar. If you're a dollar trader, right? If the dollar is bullish in your view from a higher time frame perspective, right, and you looking for buys from a higher time frame perspective, what you can then do is start like at the end of the week, find somebody in that same like in the same strategy type and follow them to just understand like what did they like. I wouldn't even say at the start of the week, I say at the end of the week. And why the reason why I'm saying at the end of the week is if you can like look at the end of the week what this trend was predicting, who's profitable, who's doing things well with this
mm,
specific strategy. If you can determine that from a high time frame perspective, they are like anticipating exactly what I'm anticipating, then that means you're doing that part
mm,
right, right? You know that okay, I have that part right. But if initially like you anticipating buys and they're anticipating sells, or like you have multiple people that you know trades like breakouts, right? But from a high time frame perspective, they follow the same rules that you following. If they don't like anticipate exactly what you anticipating, like
mm,
structure from a point like there's no different way to analyze structure. Like that's why I'm saying like a lot of people might have different entry rules, but like the foundation of most strategies is structure, right? There's no like okay,
mm,
with Falcon it's a bit different because there's like patterns and those things, but there's no different way to anticipate structure. So if structure is bullish from a high time frame perspective and you seeing it as bearish and everybody else is seeing it as bullish, then what am I looking at that's wrong? You know what I mean? Like I think that's what I used to use uh when like came to structure until I fully understood. Like that's the only example that I can use right now because I feel like majority of
mm,
people use structure as the underlying thing to find the directional bias. But let's say for instance now you understand that okay, I'm in a community. I understood like this is the community that they're saying, hey, I need to look for buys above this area, right? I'm waiting for an anticipation of buys above this area. Now I understood what they're
mm,
saying. I understand the structure point. They're saying, okay, drop down to the 15-minute. Now I need to draw an area in the market where I need to buy above, right?
mm,
Key level in the market. But every time I place my key level in the market, I'm losing, bro. Like I'm doing exactly what the strategy is saying, but I'm losing. Why is that? You know what I mean? So now
Mm.
I'll go back into the group and I'll start to understand like, hey, let me look at all the people that trades my pair, bro. Like, where are they placing this level and why are they placing it at that point? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
what's like, what's the difference, bro? Like, oh, okay,
Mm.
the strategy actually says like structure is only created or point is created in the market where you need to look for a breakout if there's only two or bare minimum two candles in the opposite direction. Okay,
Yeah.
like let me start doing that. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the way you find the tweaks, or that's the way you understand like technically if you're doing anything like out of the plan. If you're starting to make tweaks on your own, you have your base level and your underlying things that you have. You know your strategy, right? I think that if you know your strategy, you can add a metric to it and you can understand it based on the fact that you can record that specific thing, right?
Mm.
Like for me, if I was to trade one to one, I can add a metric to that one to one on my journal somewhere, right? And I can record
Mm.
the fact that, hey, or I can say if I want to go 1 to 2, 1 to 3, I can add that specific detail on my plan somewhere so that I can record it over a certain amount of trades before I even make the change. I'm just adding that
Mm.
little detail to it before I make a change. I'm not just making a change based on the fact that, oh no, this is what I think is gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like I've studied
Mm.
the past trades. So now in the next 20, I'm not just going to add it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add it as a metric and I'm going to see for the next 20 trades what actually happens. So I add it as a tag.
Mm.
Then what I do is at the end of that 20, I check that filter and I filter the tags out. And I understand that, hey,
Mm.
bro, this is actually working now. You know what I mean? And that's the way I go about it. Then you add a tag or you have a tag now that when you're doing your filtering process or you're doing your review process, you understand that it's not working. Why is it not working? Let me go over my trades. And I feel like
Mm.
that's just a way like the review goes a bit more in depth, where like you start understanding like this is not working because it's just not working, bro. Like market conditions has shifted. Like I'll leave that there as a tag, but for this past 20 trades, it hasn't worked. As a matter of fact, like if I go further, it hasn't worked for the past 40. Like that's where I think like you can really start to understand like what's working technically and what's not working. I think it's all based on the fact that like you are you you studying the charts and you studying your results, which is two
Yeah.
separate things. And this is what I also told one of my mates. Sam, I'm gonna give it to you now for the
Mm.
psychological part. This is what I told Coop. There's a difference between the trades that you take and the trades that you could have potentially taken, right? So essentially
Mm.
missed trades, right? So the only way you'll be able to definitively know what trades you could have taken is in hindsight, right? So you have your trade journal that you've taken trades, and this is the reason why I
Mm.
also like having like because I want the reason why I like trading one pair is because I like to keep the work to a minimal, but I like to have it detailed, right? So when I get to the end of the week, I know the trades that I've taken, right? And I know the fact that I know the reasons why I've taken those trades. But when I go back and I study the chart and study my trading times, like detailed trading times, the reason why I didn't trade here is because these things happened, so I couldn't trade. Okay, but what if it did happen? How could I have traded? You know what I mean? Like for the past 4 weeks that I haven't traded Thursdays, I've been doing case studies on Thursdays in my like trading time on the weekend, and I'll do that every weekend for each day, understanding like, oh no, I took this trade that lost, but there's another trade that meets my plan. I could have taken this.
Mm.
Why did I not take it? You know what I mean? Like, so then you kind of understand like your strategy fully and you start getting this. Yes, I've taken losses in the week, but like I understand like if I've taken every single trade according to the plan, like because I just did this little exercise now, I know like in hindsight, this is what should have happened. Like I would have gotten a break
Mm.
even week, maybe not a -2 or -1, but I would have gotten a break even week based on the fact that like
Mm.
I've went back in hindsight. I've taken off all my drawings that I had before. I went there with a different mindset of looking at the markers like, okay, this is what happened. How could I have gotten in now? Like, you know what I mean? So
Mm.
you start adding these things and you realize like, oh, there's more opportunities for me in the market, or there's less opportunities. There was less opportunities this week.
Mm.
And you just like you have this perfect view of the markets when it's like past. And I feel like the more you do that, the easier it is to execute on your strategy and the easier it is to also believe in like what you're doing. I feel like
Mm.
that's the way I started implementing changes. And that's the way like I feel like you can definitely say if it is a technical thing. It's all based on results, but then also it's based on like perfect market conditions, in the sense that you didn't take this trade, but you know that if I followed all of my rules and I've taken it, like it would have played out. You know what I mean? Like, and you just do a little note and a little case study on it, like understanding what happened on Monday. Like, there was more opportunities than I actually saw. Why did I miss it? Why did I not see it? Maybe I was busy and I didn't check the charts at all. But maybe I was in front of the charts. Why did I not see it then? You know what I mean? Like, so then you ask yourself those questions and you realize that, like, my strategy is working. Maybe it's just the way I was looking at the markets. Maybe I was just a bit tired, so I didn't really see it. But now that you've seen it and you can do that pattern recognition, your mind will start to recognize, like, oh, this is what I saw last week in the perfect market conditions. If it's a win, it's a win. If it's a lose, it's a lose. And that's what one of my boys said yesterday. So Kop said yesterday, he's like, bro, like, I've actually realized, like, this week when I was taking trades, this is just a fucking numbers game, bro. Like, if I'm gonna lose, it's gonna give me a number to make a decision when I get to the end of 20 to then change something. Or if I win, I'm gonna make a decision to keep something. Like, that's all it is. Like, if I get a break even, it means, what am I gonna, like? It's just a numbers game, as long as you can put filters on top of everything that you add in. Like, if you can add every single, like, think about this, Sam. You've taken 20 trades, right? You know, in your plan, every single thing in your plan, but is that truly in your journal? Like, every single thing in your plan, like that you approach the market with. If it's in your journal, you have a metric for everything. So you can go there, and as much as you like one thing, you can go there and say, hey, bro, like, you face yourself and you face this result, and you can say, nah, that thing's not working, bro. Like, this thing is definitely not fucking working. Let me take it out and try it, bro. You know what I mean? Like, actually, before, let me take it out. Like, let me go study the past 20 trades and see if it really was working. If that filter wasn't there, then you add the filter, bro. You add it to all that 20 trades. Yes, it's going to be more work, but it's going to give you the better result in the future. You know what I mean? So that's my point of view with technicals. I think it's all about having the results that you have and all of your filters in your plan, and then also having, like, the perfect view of the market, which is basically the hindsight view of the market, right? And then like believing in what you're doing, or having the results and everything facing you, like, from your plan, and then from there you can make a decision. With regards to the psychological, hey, bro, me, I'd leave that up to you, because I don't know how to answer that. I'm not gonna lie, bro. But yeah, what do you think, bro? Before you go into the psychological thing, what do you think, like, about that, the question that you asked with regards to technicals, bro?
Maybe before I go into the technicals, let me just go back to the psychological part quickly, because I was just thinking about that a bit while you were speaking. But for me, I think there were some things that you're mentioning in there that kind of, like, it's not really a gray area between technicals and psychologicals, but it relates kind of to the psychological part of it, because I think one way that I've kind of tried to see whether my issues were psychological were, was I even following the plan? So I think that's kind of where it starts, like, from a very high level, because if you're not following the plan trade on trade, then it means that you're being an undisciplined trader, and how you're not even building an accurate set of results to do everything that you're saying you must do, to then obviously execute. And obviously then, with, am I executing, consistently as per the plan, then it's, how did I manage the trade? Because you have a trade management plan. I think there's different elements of your plan that you also need to follow over and above just the execution part of it. So I think going through that kind of helps me at least determine whether something was more psychological than technical. But coming back to the technicals, I liked how you're explaining kind of just the process that you go through with reviewing what a perfect week kind of would have looked like, from, like, that clean slate. I think that's kind of like the key part, because I would look at my missed trades each week, but I would look at it from the perspective of, okay, this was the structure I was working with. Was there anything I missed from the way the market played out like this? But, the way you're explaining it was strip the charts, like, completely and start from the beginning. Take, like, you might see something that you didn't see in the moment. It's like a fresh perspective. And then you kind of go through it, day by day. because I think there is a difference between obviously the trades you take in the moment and what you see in hindsight, because obviously in the moment price is still developing, and you it's sometimes hard to be in execution mode while you're still anticipating what's going to happen next. I think that's where just falling back on the plan comes in. But at least once a week has passed and you've seen how things are going to play out, it's more just observing, okay, how did the market actually play out? Because then you
Exactly.
can go back to the plan and say, okay, this is how I actually mark out, protected lows, protected highs. But like these things just get violated week in, week out. They just don't hold. So there must be something wrong there. So I think that's kind of what stood out quite nicely for me from the technical side of it, that I'll probably implement going forward, from that clean slate of even maybe going back on bar replay and back testing the week as if I haven't traded it yet. Because, and yes, you can say, look, but you already know what's going to happen, what you're looking for, but you never know. There might be things that you've missed, like you've said, that you're going to pick up. So I think it's a fine balance between the two. But like, I was saying, for me, it really does start with um, the the psychological part of it and being disciplined. What I'm learning now is that it's really a skill to learn a new piece of information and implement
Model.
that into your plan in like a very sustainable way.
Yeah.
Because you'll find on like this path of like picking up small tweaks and stuff, that there's a lot that like there's like a lot of insights that like you'll get from like your data, even if you've been disciplined. And now it's like you've got the psychological part of it, and you're now working more on the technicals. Because yes, it's great to be a psychological trader, but to be a great like psychological trader or have a great psychology as a trader, but at the end of the day, we're also trying to be profitable.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like the technicals are important, and implementing things that improve your technicals over time um, are important. But what I'm learning now is that it is a skill to be able to see something that may be of value and may improve your results, but then implement it in a way, um, actually leads to you getting better results. And that's kind of the phase that I'm in now. And what I said, I think after you spoke in the beginning of also giving tweaks enough time to
Yeah.
play out, whether the tweak is playing out well or not, because you really don't know unless you've
Yeah.
executed it over enough trades to determine whether it's good for you or not. But then what I'm doing in parallel with that is still back testing the tweak itself, because yes, it's like very uncomfortable now, and I think I'm trying to look for like a scapegoat as to like my current set of results. But as I become more familiar with these small tweaks that I'm trying to implement, the implementation of it will become better naturally, and there'll
Exactly.
be a lot less hesitation and confusion and all of that. So I think it's just at least for me personally, like just how I feel like this whole topic is affecting my current results is a bit of a kind of being off balance with both sides of like the scale, both the psychology side of it, where I'm not confident in the strategy I'm trading because I'm not understanding it, and the results I'm getting, the feedback I'm getting right now isn't great. But then also at the same time, it's like I'm not confident in the technicals because I'm still like trying to learn like what the tweak is. So it's like the psych is low and like not great, and like there's a lot of hesitation and like not wanting to execute, and then the technical side of it's also like lacking. So it's like, but I feel like if anything, the more important part is just sticking to the fundamentals, get the
Yeah.
foundation of just execute, stick to the plan, don't change it too much now, because you don't know whether it's actually going to work or not. You'll only know after that 20, okay, this was a shit
Exactly.
tweak, maybe you minus 15 R down. then I can say confidently, okay, this wasn't working. But at the same time, I'll have enough trades to identify why it wasn't working, because you can't tell
Exactly.
after 3 trades. You really can't, Oaks. Like, you need to give something enough time to play out. And I think that's the difference between a disciplined trader and an undisciplined trader, and why the disciplined trader will then go on to get better results, because working with a more accurate data set. If you chop and change things every like 2-3 trades, you know, it's rare that you'll at least develop consistent results,
Yeah.
or at least know why your strategy is playing out the way it's playing out. So yeah, I think it really does ring true that sometimes you just need to sit on your hands. And now I'm just speaking more to my current sequence of results than the actual topic. But I think the topic has kind of helped me shed light on what kind of needs to happen next. Just keep doing what you're doing. But equally as important is, at the end of each week, look over the past week
Yeah.
in more detail now, because there may be a lot that I'm missing in this new implementation. Even though I'm sticking to the plan, I need to make sure, firstly, that I am sticking to the plan in hindsight, because I may not have been in the moment. But then, two, what is there anything I could have done better? Because then that's going to prime me going forward for the following week from a technical perspective, because I know I'm going to execute as per the plan anyway. But from a technical perspective, there may be small things in the way price is behaving that I can now implement going forward. That's still aligned with the plan, but I may not have just been conscious of previously.
Exactly.
So yeah, very
Yeah.
very cool topic, bro.
And I also
I
think,
don't know if
just
you
to
have any
add,
closing thoughts on it.
yeah, just to add to that, Sam, with regards to that exercise, what you'll find is that your confidence in the actual strategy increases too. Because if you're just looking over things, like, remember back in the day when you started learning and they told you learn support and resistance, and there was no backtesting tools or anything. I know a lot of people will say, it's cheating the process or whatever the case may be, right? But if you go back in the day, like when you just started trading and like you plot that resistance, like, and you were studying over the weekend and you're doing fucking 4 months worth of data, like you'll see that, like, more likely than not, you would have been able to see trades coming off from that weekend, regardless of it's a win or lose. But you'll have more confidence in the fact that what you're doing, because you were there plotting that thing, waiting for the bullish engulfing, and then seeing like what happens off from that support. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's the same thing, like, based on the fact that, okay, this has occurred. Like, I can see clearly it came into a point of interest and I can see it bounced off from this point of interest. Like, let me see how I could have plot that buy. You know what I mean? And I think it gives you that confidence, bro. But yeah, I think it does play with your psychology. It gives you extra confidence. But yeah, bro, you want to end it with your saying there?
Yeah, let's go, because I think it speaks to kind of the phase I'm in now. But yeah, again, I think just shout out for this topic. This was a really cool topic. Hope you guys enjoyed the topic. Hope you took some value away from it. If there is one thing that you learned from this, or that you'll be applying going forward, drop it in the comments below. Yeah, we're super keen to hear from you. So don't forget, guys, consistency is the choice you make when you start doing the things you know you should be doing day in and day out.